Welcome back to another episode of Money Equals M Squared, brought to you by Lagus, Lucas, and Torello Wealth Management. My name is Mike Torello, and I'm here with my co-host, Mike Lucas, as we talk today about some back-to-school topics that are important for teachers. So, Mike, I know we do a ton of work with teachers, and we wanted to spend some time and really go over some of the things that they should take a look at when they're getting ready to start their new school year to really make sure that their financial situation is in the best shape possible. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go over 6 important topics. We're going to talk about why it's important to review their retirement plans and their statements, update any beneficiaries, increase their savings that they're putting aside, update their investment goals and risk tolerances if there's been some changes, talk about why it's important that if they've changed districts to talk to us, whether it be now for this school year or if they've done it in the past, and really take a review of their pension status. So, Mike, let's get started with that first topic. So, the big question, why should they review, teachers, take a look at their retirement plan at the beginning of a school year and kind of see where they're at?
Well, I mean, the beginning of the school year, and the beginning of anything, is a fresh start. So you want to make sure you're on track for whatever that goal may be. I mean, we do a lot of work with teachers in retirement, like we talked about before. So, when you're updating it, there's a lot of things that might stick out. You might have a new benefit available at work. Obviously, at any time, there's a good time to make a change to start increasing more savings. If you're going through a major life change where, kids are going to college, we might have to make some adjustments and cut back on retirement. So the beginning of the year is the easiest time to make those decisions, especially, coming off a summer where most of the time a lot of teachers unwind, they get to relax a little bit. The beginning of the year, things are going to pick up really fast. So as we approach the upcoming school year in the next couple weeks, you still have a couple minutes to catch your breath, and it's important to look at a lot of your statements and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, teachers are unique in a couple ways, which kind of create that starting point. Their school year ends in June, and then they have a couple months off, right? So it creates a natural restart every single year, like you said, get that fresh start, be able to take a look. But also, their salary and their benefits are all negotiated by contracts, which usually follow the term of the school year. So they might be coming into this new school year under a brand new contract, which could have different health benefits, it could have different retirement benefits, different other financial benefits that it's important to take a look at and see how those are going to affect their plans and how it's going to affect the future for them.
Yeah, I mean, personally, being in a household where education is important and growing up in a household where education is important, I know during the school year, teachers work a lot more than 40 hours, a week, because they come home, they've got to do grading, they've got to prepare for the next day. So a lot of time during that school year, it's really hard to focus on things that are important. With the everyday world that we live in, with kids and sports and stuff like that, there just isn't enough time of the day during a school year. So that's why coming up to the school year, it's important to get all your ducks in a row, because you want to do that on a clean slate, and you don't want to do that with a million things going on in life.
Awesome.
So let's take a look at that next area, Mike, and let's take a look at updating beneficiaries. Why is it important, obviously, time we're in right now, to update beneficiaries?
Yeah, so beneficiaries are something that really, in general, should be updated anytime you have a major life event. So we talk about, when you get married, you have children, someone passes away, really should change those beneficiaries. So that way, should something happen to you unexpectedly, your money is going to go to exactly who you want it to go to at that time frame. The reason we mention this with teachers is because they have a lot of different things that they can update those beneficiaries on. And again, it's just a good time to really take a look at that plan. The biggest thing that we like to make sure people have properly updated is the beneficiary on their state teacher's pension. One thing that we notice is a lot of teachers, they'll fill out that beneficiary when they first start teaching. For a lot of teachers, this is right out of college, 22, 23 years old. And then they never take a look at that statement because that statement only comes once a year. And they don't take a look at it, and they never update those beneficiaries. And you might see things like parents on there that have passed away or a previous spouse. And you want to make sure that those beneficiaries are up to date because you are putting a lot of money into your teacher's pension, and you want to make sure that beneficiary is in line should something happen to you.
And Mike, so what's an easy way for a teacher to update that beneficiary? What's the process on it?
Yeah, so any type of beneficiary that we're going to update, it's a simple form, right? Where you're going to need some basic information about who your beneficiary is. fill out that form and get it to the right provider. So for the state teachers pension, there's a form available right on the CTRB website in Connecticut. And depending, if you're updating beneficiaries on your investment accounts or things like that, each investment company is going to have their own beneficiary form that they're able to send you to be able to just update and get that information on file. If it's accounts you're working with us on, just give us a call and we'll help you through the entire process. It's something that's very painless for us to help you with, and something that's very important to make sure you're set up for the future.
Yeah, and just an additional thing to add on beneficiaries is anytime you've changed any type of address, a lot of that stuff, we'll handle on our end, because obviously if we're coming to see you, we know you moved. Those are some of those important goals. But, again, too, with the state of Connecticut, you want to make sure you have your updated address. So updated beneficiaries and updated addresses are important at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, with the ad, just building on that, right, everyone wants to be able to get in touch with you no matter where your accounts are, what type of accounts they are. So, you don't want to a lot of teachers, we see a mistake that they make is they'll update it with the district and think that covers everything that they have, right? Like you mentioned the pension, you want to think, your 403B plan or your other retirement plans, you want to think your other investment accounts, any types of insurances and everything like that. It's not necessarily just going to get updated because you told the district that you moved, that you're working in.
Yep.
So moving on to our third topic, we talked a little bit increasing your savings. I kind of teased it at the end of the last question when we were talking. Teachers work on contract basis and their salary is determined based on their contract. So Mike, why don't you talk a little bit, why is it important to increase savings and some of those strategies that teachers can use at the beginning of a school year to increase their savings for themselves?
Yeah, and like you said before, a fresh start, fresh initiative, you're going to get probably an increase in pay. Our job is to help you save as much as possible for retirement. But we also know you need to live the life that you're living now. And, with that comes inflation and expenses and things like that. It's not like you have to increase every single year for the 403B, but the summer is the best time to take a look at that and see where your finances are and see, if at that point in time it's important to increase. A lot of what we do on a regular basis is retirement needs for our clients as well. Now, a lot of teachers have one of the best pensions that are out there. They rely on a lot of that for income. If they go, all their years that they can get about 3/4 of what their normal income will be in their retirement years. So our job is a little bit easier in that front, that we only have to replace 1/4 of their current income. Where most people who aren't in education, they might have Social Security or something along those lines, and they might have to replace a much more of a substantial portion of their income. Teachers have it in a good place already. So part of what we do is the retirement needs analysis to make sure that they're on pace for retirement, and reviewing it on a summer basis where your head's clear and things along those lines can tell us, hey, now it's important to increase X amount per month, or per paycheck on a regular basis to make sure we're getting to our 100% goal. Or some teachers, they want to live on more in retirement. And in that case, we just got to save more. So it's important to plan for those things, and having a clear head in the summertime is a nice way to do it.
Yeah, and what's nice about teachers too, because their salaries are negotiated on multi-year contracts, we're able to sit down with someone and say, okay, this is what you're going to make this year, and this is what you're going to make next year, and possibly even the year after that. And that's unique to, most jobs, you're hoping for a raise. You're hopeful that your company decides to give you a raise, where with teachers, you're able to open up your contract and see what your salary is going to be at each step as you get more experience, and each year as they add in those inflationary raises, which then helps us factor in, hey, here's what we're going to increase your savings to. So like you said, you're able to maintain your standard of living while still putting more money away for yourself for retirement.
Yep, and again, with increasing for retirement, we're doing it probably in something that's going to give you an instant tax break, like in a 403B. So you'll see that as a dollar for dollar tax reduction too. So it's important that retirement goes hand in hand with that tax preparation and things along those lines.
Great. So let's take a quick break. We're halfway through our topics. We'll head into our community spotlight for the week, and then when we come back, we'll finish up talking about some adjustments that teachers can make at the beginning of the school year. Welcome to this week's Community Spotlight, the segment of our show where we focus in on a small business from our community that helps make our community tick. This week, we're focusing in on Juicebox the Band. If you're looking to check out live music, check out Connecticut's top pop essential party band, Juicebox. If you're looking for a night of dancing, sing-alongs, and a great show, then you're in for a treat. Playing all the hits ranging from Lady Gaga, Usher, Dua Lipa, Bruno Mars, to 90s hip-hop, alternative, 80s, and more. Winner of the Hartford Courant's Best Live Band of 2022. Weddings and private parties are a specialty if you'd like to have a more personal experience. Check them out on Facebook at JuiceBoxBandCT and on Instagram at JuiceBoxBand for upcoming shows and more info. All right, so welcome back. So as we were talking about before, we're talking about some topics that are important to teachers and getting started with a fresh start and a fresh initiative at the beginning of the school year. So before the break, we talked about really updating your retirement plan and your beneficiaries, taking a look at increasing your savings. So Mike, why don't you talk about now is, you mentioned before, teachers are busy during the school year. They're working during the school day, they're working at home. Why is summer a really good time to take a look at, has their investment goals, has their risk tolerance changed, and how can that impact their future if it has, and we have to make adjustments to it?
Yeah, when we talk about, some of the investment goals and risk tolerance and things along those lines, those are topics that you want to spend some time to go through. You want to dive deeper into it. Obviously, having the summer, you have more time to think more about it. But I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with a teacher or actually anyone in any profession, and they haven't changed any of their risk tolerance in 20 years or 30 years, or even any of their investments inside that. And I'm not saying that we should change it on a regular basis every single year, but as we get closer and closer to a goal, whether it be retirement or whether it be to do an upgrade on a house, if we're having investments trying to target those goals, it's important to look over them on a regular basis. We don't want to retire, or look at retirement being 1 or 2 years away and the market to go through a downfall. So we want to prepare accordingly for that. So with working with Mike and I and the team and preparing and figuring out when some of those goals are, it'll help us make important adjustments to the risk tolerance and some of your investment choices inside there to help limit some of the damage if we were to go through a downturn in the market, the year or two before you're retiring. I think the common misconception of a lot of retirement planning is, take a risk, while you're working. As soon as you retire, you're ultra conservative and you put it in something safe, and then you move on from there. And for proper planning, I think that can't be farther from the truth, because a lot of what we're doing when we retire is maintaining, obviously, income, but we still need that money to grow. So it might be taking a portion of that money when you're newly retired and putting in something that's more conservative for income for the next 5 or 10 years. But like we talked about before, these assets need to last for a long time. So a larger portion of the money that you have in retirement still needs to grow. And I'm not saying it needs to take a higher level of risk, but we want to try to get a better rate of return with a portion of that money so it lasts as long as possible.
Right. Retirement is the longest financial goal that anyone's going to save for, and it's going to be the longest one that we're going to distribute money for. Where retirement becomes unique is that you're going to spend that money over possibly 30 or 40 years. So you can't just apply one time horizon to that goal and say that this is my risk tolerance because I'm retiring next year or I'm retiring in 5 years, and say that's how long I want my time horizon, my risk to be based on. Because like you said, you're going to need money. If you're retiring 5 years from now, you're also going to need money 10 years from now and 20 years from now and 30 years from now as people are as you're spending that money and as you're living on it in retirement. So you almost have to look at everything, like you said, and kind of split it up into different buckets and look at it as different goals with a different time horizon for each amount of money. With that said, people's risk tolerance may change on how they are. You made a good point. The general thing that a lot of people say is be aggressive while you're young and be conservative when you're older. But it all depends on each individual client. Not every single person is aggressive while they're young. Not every single person is conservative when they're older and in retirement. It really comes down to their feeling. And when you're working with us and you're going through that risk tolerance and going through our risk questionnaires, we can make sure that your accounts are set up right for you.
Yep. And I think just like everything else we talked about, the summer is the great time to do that because your head is more clear and you've got more time to think about it and make an informed decision about it.
Great.
So Mike, let's jump into our next topic here. Let's talk about, what happens nowadays with the environment they're in with education. There could be opportunities presented in other districts or other schools. Why is it important, if you've changed schools or districts, to sit down and review with us?
Yeah, so more than ever, we're seeing teachers change school districts frequently. And it's important to always let us know. And the main reason why is we don't want you to lose track of your money or lose track of plans that you have. You've done a good job saving since you started teaching, right? A lot of our clients, they start working with us when they're 22, 23 years old, their first teaching job, year one. But when they switch districts, that plan stays in the district. And a lot of teachers don't realize that. They may go to a new district, continue to work with us, may work with the same investment company, and not realize that they have another plan at an old district. It's our job to help facilitate that, and what we want to do is we always want to get the money out of the old district that they're in and either into the new district or into a traditional IRA, so that way they have control of where all their money is. It's so important to make sure that you don't just have hundreds of accounts out there in all different places, because it'll just make your retirement more difficult. We want to make everything as simple as possible with at least amount of headaches, so all you have to worry about is teaching, working, saving your money, and then your retirement will be a breeze.
Yeah, with that, it's important, like you said, to organize it and have it all in one spot. And a lot of times you don't want to have all statements coming to you. So it's easier to have it organized into one.
Yeah, and like I said too, a big thing, a lot of times you're working with the same company across district. Most of the same investment providers work in almost all the districts. So you're able to work with the same investment company. So it's not like you're going to have to change what you have. More than likely, you're going to be able to have the exact same account with the same investment. You're just going to change the school district that it's registered in.
And a lot of times if that happens, clients will reach out to us and we'll walk them through the process. It's not an easy process. You don't suggest doing it on their own. We've done this numerous times. It's not easy to do, but we'll hold your hand through that process.
Great. So the last thing, just to take a look, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about reviewing things during the summer. Let's take a look at someone's pension. So Mike, why is it important to really know exactly what your status is in the teacher's pension, especially here in Connecticut, and really take a look at how that can benefit you for your retirement?
Yeah, the pension is very unique here in Connecticut. I think it's a great pension, and with it, it's important to review where you are. The general rule of thumb with the pension is it's 2 times however many amount of years you've been there, and that's the percentage of your 3 highest earning years in salary. That's the general rule of thumb. But what we do in the summertime with a lot of our clients, whether you've been with the school district for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or you're approaching that maximum amount of years, is sit down and review some of the hypotheticals that are available on the CTTRB website to help you with the preparation, for planning for retirement. And it could be in the beginning of your years, or it could be in what we call the retirement red zone, or the last 5 or 10 years of working. Again, it's just a great time to do it because there's more free time in the summer. Your head's clearer, and it's I think in a point in time where you're getting that fresh start and you're not getting bogged down by all the kids and all the stress that comes along with working on a normal basis. And it helps you paint a picture of where you want to be.
Yeah, and when you have that clear head, one of the things we always want to make sure we're checking in on is making sure that your status is accurate and that there's no ways that we can improve it. So when I say accurate, every single year, your school district is going to report to the state how much you work. Did you work a full year? Did you only work 7 months? Did you have some unpaid leave or something that would reduce your qualification for a full pension credit? We want to make sure that was reported correctly, because that can make huge impacts on your retirement in the future if there's mistakes and then we're trying to correct the errors 20 years down the road. The other thing is making sure that your salary is reported. Like Mike said, your pension is calculated based on the average of your highest 3 earnings years. We want to make sure those earnings are as high as possible on your pension statement to create the largest pension that you can possibly get. The other thing is seeing, do we have any ways that we can improve your pension? Right? So are you eligible to buy any additional years? Did you teach in a private school or out of the state of Connecticut and you're eligible to buy these years? Every single year that you teach, those years are going to get more expensive because you're buying later years in your pension. So if you're eligible, it's important to calculate how much that's going to cost. You mentioned the CTTRB resources on their website. We're able to estimate those costs right away, see if you're eligible, and really take advantage to improve your pension, which then factors into, having that retirement plan accurate to really know when you can retire.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. The sooner you can calculate that, the cheaper it will be for you in the long term.
Awesome. So those were, 6 important topics. We wanted to go over, teachers are getting back to school. They're getting back to school in the next week or two. It's important to take a look at these things. Make sure you reach out to us if you have questions. As always, check us out online at lltwm.com or check us out on Instagram at Team LLT. Thanks. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily the views and opinions of Cetera Investment Services. Any recommendations mentioned in this episode are meant for educational purposes only and should not be construed as advice or personal recommendations. Always consult your financial advisor, tax advisor, or attorney for details related to your specific risks, goals, and objectives. Investments have risks and can lose value. They are not FDIC insured. The situations presented are hypothetical to illustrate key topics and should not be construed as actual client situations or experiences. Lagus, Lucas & Torello Wealth Management operates under Cetera Investors and is responsible for the production of this show. All views and opinions are solely that of Lagus, Lucas & Torello Wealth Management. You should always obtain a prospectus when available prior to investing to know your risks, costs, and fees associated with the investment. The advice and strategies presented today are general in nature and should not be used in your planning until you consult with your attorney and CPA on your specific situation. A diversified portfolio does not assure a profit or protect against loss in a declining market. Asset allocation is an investment strategy that will not guarantee a profit or protect you from loss. Cetera Investors is a marketing name of Cetera Investment Services. Securities and insurance offered through Cetera Investment Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. 127 Washington Avenue, 2nd floor west, North Haven, Connecticut 06473. Phone number 203-239-4545. Individuals affiliated with this broker-dealer firm are either investment advisor representatives who offer only investment advisory services and receive fees based on assets, or registered representatives who offer brokerage services and receive transaction-based compensation, or both an investment advisor representative or registered representative who can offer both types of services.